John McEnroe, folks. Again, don't know how you feel about him. I love him. Always did. And I'm being serious. Honestly, you might say you cannot be serious, but I am. I'm being serious. I love him. I always did. What a wonderful tennis player. One of the very, very best I've ever seen. An absolute natural talent. And he had even more power, like some of the big hitters, the big boys. He'd probably been the best we've ever seen. He was brilliant. Anyway, I read something only over the weekend, I think it was. Some are complaining about his latest wage increase at Wimbledon, for doing the old commentary with the BBC. And I know we shared him with, I think it's NBC. He didn't even do the final this year. He did the women's, I believe, didn't do the men's. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, I've not watched much tennis for a good few years now. But like I said, I was going to tuck myself in and I was going to watch the men's final. And I did. And I enjoyed it very, very much. And I missed him not being there. But a few have complained that they've upped his wages at the Beeb. I think he's gone up about 10 or 15 grand. I think he's on a couple of $100,000 a week, which is a lot of money for 2 weeks' work. He's only doing 8 to 10 hours a day, but he's putting in a solid shift of 8 to 10 hours a day. Probably now on 14 days a week now, because he seems to play through weekends to catch up with rain delays. And I just can't understand anybody complaining. I think McEnroe is one of the best pundits on the TV, bar none, through any sport, anywhere in the world. I just think he's absolutely brilliant. He was a brilliant tennis player. His knowledge is vast, but he delivers in a fantastic way. I mean, he's probably one of the tennis all-time great pundits, probably up there with old Maskell, and they're totally different, but he's brilliant. I absolutely love him. And I also love the fact that he's upset that old Sue Barker really has lost a position, and he's been pretty vocal in backing her, even since she's gone. And I love that. I just love people that stick up for their friends, as I've said many times in the past. And Big Mac, he does. Love it greatly. And as I say, cannot for the life may understand why anybody is complaining. A couple of $100,000 for a couple of weeks' work seems like a lot of money. But he's the best. He's worth it. And at this moment in time, tennis is absolutely awash with money. And I mean awash. What did the lad from Stockport get? Did he get 100 or 200 grand for getting through 2 matches? I'm really, really pleased for him. But 2 matches. There's another 4 or 5 matches to go to get and win the final. He's an also ran. Don't begrudge you the money, by the way. Don't begrudge the money at all that he got. But he's an also ran. Big Mac is the best. Well, Big Mac's, that's the fella from racing, isn't it? I'm calling Big Mac McEnroe. I'll call him it anyway. He's great as far as I'm concerned. He's the best at what he does. He deserves the money. Old Boris did it for a few years, didn't he? And before the old jail sentence. Boris would come on and I'd turn off. He's as good as Mac. Well, he's not as good as Mac's a tennis player, but he might have won more. Anyway, that's regardless. He did me head in. I didn't like him. Monotonous, boring, didn't like him. McEnroe, brilliant. You never know what's going to come next. I like that. John, whatever they pay you, I'm happy with. If you can get more, go and get more out of them. You deserve it, lad.